This program is brought to you by realestate.com.au. Keep moving with Australia's #1 address in property.
Welcome back. There are about 2,900 homes scheduled to be auctioned this week. That's up about 20% when compared to the same week last year. Sydney will hold about 980 auctions, Melbourne about 1,200, Brisbane about 160, Adelaide about 150 and Canberra 90. Taking a look at the most viewed properties going to auction this weekend, and in New South Wales, the top property is 12 Reddell Street, Campbelltown. This three-bedder has an asking price of $755,000. In Victoria, the top property is 2 Alma Street, Balwyn North. This four-bedder is on a large L-shaped block, asking price about $1.65 million. In Queensland, the top property is 76 Wolf Street, Sunnybank. This four-bedder has a couple of bathrooms, 2 parking spots, but the sale is really about the 1,000 square metre block of land, which makes it perfect for a knockdown rebuild. The top property in South Australia is 60 Wellington Street, Port Adelaide. This three-bedder has 1 bathroom. It does have some cracks in the walls, hence the cheap price, $499,000. And the top property in Western Australia is 22 Glyde Street, East Fremantle. This large 4-bedroom cottage sits on a decent-sized block. And the most viewed property on the REA Group website this week is a massive home in Queensland, which was built in 2004. The address is 16 Clematis Court, Cashmere. It's got 7 huge bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, lots of parking, giant living areas, ducted aircon throughout. It sits on 6,000 square metre size block. It's located about 45 minutes drive north of the Brisbane CBD. Agents are taking offers over $2.25 million for this one. And for more on property, I spoke to Eleanor Creagh from REA Group.
So we're seeing the auction volumes are pretty robust. They're a little bit higher than this same period last year by give or take 10% across Sydney and Melbourne. With sellers kind of looking to list ahead of the Easter and Anzac Day holidays this year, probably keeping some of that strength in auction volumes heading into this weekend and the next couple of weekends as well. When we're looking at home buying demand, so the other side of the equation, we can see that home prices are continuing to lift throughout March. So we saw that home price gains in March were pretty broad-based, with every capital city seeing a lift in home prices. So that momentum following on from February's interest rate cut, which boosted borrowing capacities by a pretty small amount, but also I think boosted by confidence and probably incentivised some of those potential buyers who were deterred by the sustained higher interest rate last year to now re-enter the market and move ahead with purchasing decisions now the easing cycle has begun. So we're seeing that home buying demand also remains pretty robust, with prices lifting really around the country in March.
Yeah, and looking at that report that you released, over the past 12 months, what areas have done really well when it comes to property price increases?
Yeah, it's certainly interesting when we look over the past year and we compare annual price growth. We can see that it's Perth, Adelaide and Brisbane that really continue to outperform. So each of those capitals seeing growth of around 11.5% for Adelaide and Perth, the top performing capital city markets in the country over the past year, and then around 9.5% for Brisbane in terms of annual home price growth. So those markets really performing over the past year. However, we have seen that growth has slowed so far this year. So over the past quarter, the pace of home price growth has slowed in each of those markets, although prices are continuing to lift. And on the flip side, we're seeing that the pace of home price growth has accelerated in Canberra, Melbourne and Sydney, markets where price momentum had become a little bit weaker throughout the second half of 2024.
This week, the RBA did keep the cash rate on hold, but with all the global uncertainty, there's a chance they could cut rates a few more times this year. If that happens, what might that mean for the property market?
So certainly we're expecting that it's likely that home prices are going to continue to lift in the months ahead, although it's likely that the pace of home price growth is probably going to be a little bit more modest than the pretty fast pace we've seen in recent years. So although we are expecting the RBA to continue moving interest rates lower, and that will continue to improve borrowing capacities and probably bolster sentiment amongst home buyers, we do know that the starting position for affordability is probably going to be a constraint with respect to the pace of home price growth. So the starting point for affordability at the moment is incredibly challenged, pretty much Australia-wide. So that's likely to temper the pace of home price gains, although we are expecting that prices are going to continue to lift with further easing ahead with respect to monetary policy.
And I saw there were some building approvals numbers out this week. It looks like a slight improvement, but still not enough homes really being built across the country.
That's exactly right. So although we are seeing approvals kind of trending in the right direction, we do know that we're still certainly not building or completing enough new homes. There's also that significant lag between commencement and completion. So building approvals are really the best case scenario of what really gets off the ground and what ends up being built. And we're still seeing that building approvals are not where they need to be.
Eleanor Creagh, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.